Hey, howdy, y'all. MrTaupeTO here. I'm going to be doing a bit of a review of the new Disney Plus Star Wars show, Ahsoka. They released two episodes last week. I was able to take a look at them, and I just wanted to share my thoughts with you about it. Now, right up front, full disclosure, I have not watched a single episode of The Clone Wars, The Bad Batch, Rebels, any of those things from the Filoniverse. I know things simply because it's in the zeitgeist and it's Star Wars knowledge, but I've never seen any single episode of any of those shows. I've seen a ton of clips on YouTube. I've seen the legion of memes and everything else from it, but I don't have any direct contact with anything from any of those shows, and it's not that the show is reliant upon all of those or where you have to know everything, but I'm sure there are plenty of hooks that I am missing and I'm just swimming right on by that for fans of those shows or people who got into any one of those particular shows are are getting hooked on all the time. Case in point, the large mural that is being memorialized at the beginning of the episode when we're introduced to Sabine Wren. I know that that mural is based from the last episode of Rebels. I understand that just from being around in the Star Wars ecosystem. But I have no emotional ties to any of that. I'm not impressed or even moved by anything that's going on with that picture. I know it's supposed to show the cast. You have Hera, you have Sabine, you have Ezra, and forgive me, but I don't know the names of the two guys, the Jedi guy who died and the giant alien that made an appearance in Mandalorian season 3. I don't know who they are. Now, that may be that may be my biggest problem with the show. I don't know who they are, and the show doesn't explain who they are or what happened to them. It just says, okay, Ezra's missing. Sabine's been, I guess, waddling in her own uh, pain and isolation, and they try and play it off like, oh, she's Mandalorian, and that's fine, I guess. But Hera is moved on and become a general within the New Republic. Um, that's cool and that's all great. But in terms of what they're actually telling me, I don't know what's going on with them at all. Um, had it not been for Ahsoka appearing in The Mandalorian last season, I may not have even known who she was. Um, I know she was a big part of the Clone Wars, and she's obviously a creation of Mr. Filoni. And I have nothing against him personally, as I don't dislike his work. It's just I've never watched any of it, and it has me bouncing off of this show in terms of, okay, what are we doing? What is this adding to like the Star Wars ecosystem? What are we doing here? And that leads to like one of my bigger problems with modern Star Wars now is it is still afraid of moving beyond the whole Skywalker era of of the of the universe. Quite frankly, I'm a little bit worn out on this time period. I say that having watched and enjoyed Andor, because that was just one of the best things that Star Wars has ever done. I'm still enjoying The Mandalorian, even though it takes place 5 years after Return of the Jedi, and yes, it even brings back Master Skywalker. But I would have thought a new show would have been able to move the ball anywhere else than this same time period in between the fall of the empire and the prequels. But I'm not going to knock the show for what it isn't. I'm going to just reserve my feelings for the show for what it is and what they showed me. And what they showed me, strangely enough, is a bunch of people wielding lightsabers, and there's a part of me that will always enjoy that. There's a part of me that has loved that ever since I was 3 months old and Star Wars came out. Um, there's always going to be a part of me that digs on that. But once again, we've got lightsaber fights that don't really mean anything because she's killing, or she only kills a robot. She doesn't take down the Inquisitor guy. She doesn't take down the new apprentice lady. Nobody dies to lightsaber. No sentient being dies to lightsaber in this show, which I get, but that's not what made lightsabers cool, in my opinion. Um, Piggyback that on onto the fact that the last two entries into the Star Wars universe weren't really about Jedi or lightsabers for the most part. What really happened was, you again you had Andor, where nobody lit up a lightsaber at all. Um, and it gave you some of the most tense scenes, some of the most compelling drama, and some of the best dialogue, bar none, regardless of genre. Uh, Performed well by actors that are at the peak of their powers. Not to say that anybody on this show is doing a bad job, but I have yet to run into a situation where the Jedi, who should be the coolest characters in this universe, or even the Force sensitives, or anyone connected to them, is giving me any reason to care what it is they're doing. The New Republic and Hera seem to be inept. Um, Sabine seems to be on her own program and hasn't kept up with her training, hasn't kept up with her fighting, which for a Mandalorian seems odd to me, but okay. Even Ahsoka has been, well, hasn't been paying attention. She's not been helping Luke with his new Jedi school. She's not doing anything in particular other than running around the galaxy where she's needed, or chasing down rumors about Thrawn, which is fine, I guess. It's something for her to do, but it seems to me like she's literally spinning her wheels, much like her ship spins. But it seems like an odd waste of talent. Here, I mean, for me, it's this: Ahsoka has a chance to, if not remake the Order, have a significant chance to mold the new Order that comes forth from the Jedi. But she just is choosing to not do that. It's again, it's her choice. She can do that, but it seems like an odd waste of talent for someone who has been trained as a Jedi and is combat trained. Only thing she didn't do was pass the trials, apparently. But that didn't even matter when she was leading troops and fighting, fighting against the separatists. But that's neither here nor there. The Rebels crew also seemed to be listless and wandering because, again, Hera and everybody in the New Republic just seems like they don't know what the heck they're doing. Um, Sabine is only a commander. I guess that's based on her age or something like that. But then you look at what Ahsoka was doing back in the Clone Wars at her age. I guess, I don't know. It's the New Republic. It's on them. Uh, Meanwhile, even the villains seem like they've just been spinning their wheels for a while. Because if Morgan Elsbeth has been imprisoned by Ahsoka, that means that it took place last season in the Mandalorian show. But who knows how? Or no, it would have been 2 seasons ago at this point. It would have been season two, more specifically. She's been spinning her wheels ever since then. And then you get these two fallen Jedi, or at least one fallen Jedi, um, in the form of, I believe his name was Bale or something like that. Uh, Apologies, and I know that's Mr. Stevenson's last or one of the last things he did before he passed alone. But I just I again I wasn't caught on every single word because there were a lot of times when I was just confused as to what was going on. Again, if it weren't for just the general, zeitgeist of Star Wars, I would not know who these characters are. And I know that Mr. Filoni and Miss has come out and said that he's trying to make a show that almost anybody can get into. You don't have to have done the work of watching all the seasons of the Clone Wars or Rebels. But I'm just here to tell it that I'm not getting hooked in. I'm not getting compelled by what I'm seeing on screen. I'm not overly concerned about this story over much because once again we're in a time frame where I know what is going to happen. I know that whatever is going on in this show is not going to stop the First Order from rising. It is not going to make the New Republic, you know, a tip top fighting force. It's not going to make any of those things any better. So for me, it's just a little bit of okay, you could have thrown the story anywhere, but you're still here doing this, and that's their choice. But again, I can't knock the show for what it's not. I'm just looking at what it is. Now, I'm not going to go into the details of every episode. I still am hesitant to give spoiler talk or anything like that. But I just don't know if this is it for me. I I don't know if I'm going to give it at least 3 episodes because I give every show at least 3 episodes. But they've got to kind of bring it from the top rope in order for me to be overly concerned about what's going on in this show. Um, and that's to me as a lifelong fan of Star Wars truly sad that I've got Jedi, I've got Sith, I've got laser swords, I've got corrupt politicians. I've got droids of all manner, shape, and sizes, and I'm not being pulled in. I mean, if that's not Star Wars, if those things are literally not Star Wars, I don't know what is. And the fact that they're failing to get a guy like me interested in this show, I mean, hey, you can like what you like, but I'm not liking this. And I wish it were better. I wish I could get into it. I'm just not having that much of a good time with it myself. But like I said, I'm going to give it at least 3 episodes, see what they can do, see if they can pull it back out. And it's not any character, it's not any of the dialogue, it's not any of the action, it's not any of the scenes. It's just all these pieces do not make a greater whole for me, and I'm having a hard time, getting into it, and I'm afraid that I'm bouncing off once again the Filoni verse, and I know that is going to be a problem for me going forward. But I was it's not even expectations because I had no hype built up for this show. Like I said, I haven't seen any of the formative stuff ahead of this. I don't know what's going on. I'm not looking for character development or any of that stuff or continuing sagas or what about this one mystery that we didn't solve. None of that applies to me. But I'm just looking for a good story, and right now, this isn't a good enough story for me to be concerned with. In order to continue, if it doesn't start picking it up, I don't know how many episodes are in this season, and I'm not at this point. I'm not waiting with bated breath for the next one to come out. Um, I'm in a weird spot right now with Star Wars, and that's troubling to me because the last time I was in a weird spot with Star Wars was the prequels, which conveniently enough, we're dealing with a bunch of prequels characters. But hey, Andor is a prequels character, or before the original trilogy anyway, and that turned out to be awesome. Make it happen, Captain. That's all I got. I'm going to leave it there because my kids are coming home right now. I'll have to see you guys later, but Mr. TaupeTO, end of sketch.